Today I'm challenging myself to create as many Christmas cards as I can using these leftover stickers and scraps of paper from the Christmas Story collection. This is a collaboration with the creative design team, and we are using things that we haven't used yet that we've had in our stash. I've had these pocket cards in my stash since last year. I've got 2 packs. First is the Christmas Story collection that goes with the paper and stickers I have out. I used one little piece of the pocket cards, but I love these cards because they create really quick and easy greeting cards, and that was my intention when I bought these pocket cards, but I never used them. And then I also have this pack of gold foiled pocket cards that I never used. So those are the 2 things that I'm using that I haven't used yet in this challenge. And I've also got a whole bunch of pre-cut die cuts and other Christmas embellishments. I basically went through every Christmas embellishment pack that I had, and I put everything in little trays, and I have a bunch of stuff out on my Versamat there. So I'm trying to also challenge myself to use up all of these goodies that I have had in my stash for years. So spoiler alert, I ended up creating 32 cards using up all of the pocket cards, even the little scraps. And the last couple of cards that I'll show are some of my favorite ways to use up little scraps that you have left over. So hang tight, this video got kind of long because I made so many cards. So I did speed it up, but I'm trying to slow it down when I finish a card so you can see it a little more clearly. And then at the end, I will show all of the finished cards together. So in this first card and the first mini cards I work on, I'm trying to use up some of the bigger embellishments first, and then I'll work down to some of the little tiny embellishments that I have. And some of the cards I like more than others, but I do really love all of them. I try to send a handmade greeting card to every single one of my customers that have ordered throughout the year, and I needed some more because my business has been growing. Thanks so much, you guys. It's been such a blessing this past year to be able to serve you in your crafty needs, and so I love to send out handmade cards to you because I know that my crafty friends appreciate handmade cards, right? I do hand make my cards that I send to our family friends and family, and but I include a photo on those ones. And so these are the ones that I send to my customers and my other crafty friends. I'm gravitating to some of the 4x6 pocket cards first because it's really easy to just cut one side of them down to 5 1/4 like I'm doing here, and then that makes it 4 by 5 1/4 and leaves a margin all the way around the card, so the card base gives it the white border, and it looks really nice and tidy. And then I'm trying to grab some of the larger stickers. I'm trying to use the stickers up first. I had 2 of these paper packs and I used up a lot of it, but I still have quite a few stickers here to use. Not a ton of large ones, but you'll see how I end up using small stickers with some of the larger die cuts and some of the smaller pocket cards. But I do love starting with the 4x6 cards, and then you'll see me in a little bit start using up the smaller pocket cards too. Now here's another way to use the 4x6 cards. This one I'm just cutting right in half, so it's 3 by 4. And then I'm going to get 2 cards out of this one. So I'll just put it at the bottom of each of these card bases, and then I'll add like a little transition. And I've got some big trees here that I can use, and those will work really well on this. So my idea with these cards is to really not think too much about it, to kind of go with my first gut instinct as I'm creating and pulling cards. Sometimes I go back and forth, but I'm really trying to not overthink it. I tend to be a perfectionist. How many of you are out there watching perfectionists? It can be a blessing and a curse, but I usually spend a lot of time on cards, and I love doing techniques, background techniques and stamping and all of that. but sometimes I just want to make quick cards. And what I've found when I have all of these embellishments to pull from that are pre-done, I'm limiting myself just to my paper scraps and these pocket cards. It's really forcing me to get my creative juices flowing, and it's really, really fun. I really love creating in this way. I spent a whole evening, many hours. I think the footage for this video was like 4 hours. And so, I cut a lot of it out and sped it up, but I just had such a good time doing this. And I think one of the tricks is to pre-cut all of your die cuts. Like, I know that I love to use sprigs, so I pre-cut a bunch of different sprigs that I had, sprig dies in my stash. Some of them are in glitter paper, some of them are in cardstock, so I'd have a variety. And I think that was one of the biggest time savers and helpful things that I did. And then, of course, I had those trays that I showed you. They're off screen now, but those had a lot of die cuts that I've been cutting throughout the season as well. And so it was really nice to be pulling from those. Some of them were also die cuts that were left over from the 31 Days of Christmas Cards event that the creative design team put on. And so I had a bunch of extras from that as well. So it was really helpful to have all of those and then just be able to pick and choose the stickers and pocket cards and paper that I wanted to use. Some of those little die cuts that I have off to the side are also from the scrapbooking kit. If you watch my scrapbooking videos that I normally do, I love getting the scrapbooking kit because there are pre-designed layouts that you can put together and just follow the directions, and they come with a lot of extra little bits, so like little die cuts and extra sheets of paper. So some of those were from the scrapbooking kit that I never used on scrapbook layouts. So I also want to point out that I'm using journaling cards that are in these pocket cards, and you can, even though there's lines on them, it still makes a really good backdrop, as you can see here. And so don't think that you can't use the journaling cards just because you're not actually journaling. I also want to mention that Close to My Heart no longer creates pocket cards like this, but there are still several pocket cards available from past collections, and these two that I'm using are still available. So I will link those as well as all of the other supplies that I'm using that are still available. This Christmas tree right here is still available, and that Christmas die cut sentiment is just from this year. So there are several items that I'm using that are still available, but a lot of it is retired. The sticker sheet and paper scraps that I'm using from the Christmas Story collection are gone, but the pocket cards here are still available. So it was nice to be able to use my scraps from the paper pack and sticker sheet because I knew that they would coordinate perfectly with the pocket cards that I'm using. Notice how I use a couple of those little scrap strips that were cut off of other cards to kind of add some layers at the top of that larger strip. This one says the stockings were hung by the chimney with care, so I wanted to add that little stocking sticker, and I still have another stocking sticker for another card. I wanted to add a few little splatters on this, so I'm cutting myself or ripping myself a little cover so I don't get any on that sticker. And this is just like a gold shimmer splatter that I have in my stash. It's a very subtle gold. I'll link that below because it's a really, really nice spray. I've been loving it. Now on this card, I'm building the background in much the same way as the last one because I really liked it. So that's one of the benefits of cutting the larger pocket cards in half, or if you have a couple of pocket cards that are similar, or even if you're just using patterned paper and you're not using pocket cards at all, is if you find a style that you like, use it more than once. So I really liked that poinsettia one with the two strips that I used on the last card, but I used that big sticker with the stocking, and this one is very different, but it's the same background pretty much, and I just turned it on its side so that I could use that big Noel. Now this one, I'm going to end up cutting off the sides. I cut off the same amount from each side, and so there's just going to be less of a border on the sides, and I used a few ornament stickers with this. Of course, my adhesive ran out in the middle of everything. I like using the adhesive, either the Tombow or the Close to My Heart dot runners, because both of those are a little bit more forgiving if you put it down and then decide that you're changing your mind. And I did that a lot throughout this process. So although I do really love my Scotch ATG tape, it is very permanent. It's hard to lift it up after you've put it down. So I am using my smaller dot runners because they are permanent, but if you put it down, you have a little time to pick it up before it is an absolutely permanent adhesive. So I used a few little bow die cuts that I had in my little die cut tray to top those ornaments, and that looked really cute. Now for this next card, I used a piece of the pattern paper as my background, and then this is a larger pocket card that I just trimmed down to be my focal image. So a lot of times there are pocket cards that have these fun icons on them, and you can just trim those, and they're really easy focal images. So I'm just going to use a few of the gold stars that I have from the sticker sheet. There were a generous amount of these gold foil stars on that sticker sheet, so I have quite a few in gold foil and in other colors that are not foiled that I'll be using throughout these cards. So I just put those on like little ornaments. This tree is the same as the stamped image that I have, and the tree stamp and die set is still available. So it's just bigger than it is showing up on that pocket card. And now I'm going to start using some of the smaller pocket cards. I like using these as focal images in much the same way as that tree that I cut down from the larger one. So a lot of times I will go through a pocket card collection before I start and pull out all of the smaller pocket cards that can be used as focal images. I ended up not doing it this time because I have so many extra die cuts that I'm using that I can use as focal images too. But I'm going to start going through and pulling out all of those 3x4 cards that can be used as the focal images. Now I'm using some of the die cuts from the scrapbooking kit here again. I just kind of layered them all up to create sort of a ornament or tag. And I thought at first that I wanted to use that tan plaid present to go with the tan plaid strip I'm using here, but it was a little too matchy for me, so I switched to the green plaid present there. And then I'm going with that same look with the 3x4 piece of paper at the bottom and a couple of little strips to kind of build up some interest, and then add that little focal image there. And I'm going to try to find another little bow. Here's a couple of bows. I've got one larger bow that was in an older die cut pack, and then one of those smaller little die cut bows again that I had in my little die cut tray. And that looks really cute. So I'm thinking I need a few other little embellishments. I'm not really good at doing super simple cards. Some of these are going to be simple, but I just love adding layers and little bits, so I have a hard time stopping. You definitely could have just stopped, with the ornament, but I thought it needed a little something extra, so I'm adding these little sprigs at the top of the ornament. And then I have these letters that say Noel. It's red underneath, showing through some holes that are in the black paperboard on the top. It's really hard to see it showing up, but in real life it shows up a lot better. And then I added a few little gold glitter stars that I had in my stash to finish that off. So I created a visual triangle with the 2 stars that are in gold glitter, and then that gold glitter bow that's at the top of the little ornament tag there. And that will finish up this card. Now this is where I'm going to start going through my 3x4 cards and choosing ones that have focal images. This is what I was talking about I normally do ahead of time, but I ended up waiting till now this time because I had so many die cuts I was working with. So again, I'm using a patterned paper piece for my background and then just mounting that 3x4 card on top. And then I'll just use a few little pieces of embellishments that I have here. I had 2 of the bigger stars and 1 of the smaller one left, and I didn't want that much of the bigger stars showing, so I just tucked one there behind the pocket card, and then I'll have one on the top and the other one on top. And I've got my visual triangle, and sometimes just a little bit of bling is all you need. It's such a simple card. But I had to take it a step further because I love these little greenery sprigs, so I decided to tuck a few of the little tiny ones I had underneath some of the stars. Sometimes it's just hard for me to leave it be. Now I'm going to move on to that Fa La La pocket card, and I'm going to go through a few ideas of what I want the background to be. So you'll see me trying a few little things here. A lot of times I have an idea of what I want to do in my head, and sometimes I just want to try a bunch of different things to see how they'll look. But again, I'm trying to make quick decisions so that these will go very quickly. And I had some of these gold glitter snowflakes in my stash. Some of the little, I don't know what you call them, like spokes. What do you call the little things sticking out of the snowflake? Some of those were broken off. So what I did was I just simply tucked those broken off ones in underneath the pocket card so they wouldn't show. And there I've got my visual triangle, and I'm just going to keep that one just like that. By the way, I do have a large pile of my card bases off to the side there, so I can just keep grabbing them really quickly. I use the Cards and Envelopes value pack from Close to My Heart. They're pre-scored card bases and they come with envelopes, so it's really easy to just kind of fold them and turn them into your card bases. They are a thinner material than I typically would like to use for cards. A lot of times I'll use Hammermill cardstock in the 110-pound index as my card base. I just cut it in half from the 8.5 by 11, and I like that as a thicker card base, but I love these Cards and Envelopes for quick cards because of the pre-score line that they have, and they're, they just come in a pack and they're super easy to use. I have a larger sentiment on this one, and even though it's going off the pocket card, that's okay. I think it looks cute. And then I have this little tab that was also from the scrapbooking kit that I thought I would add here to add a little pop of red, and I think that that looks cute. A lot of these larger embellishments that I have, like that Merry Christmas that I just used, and then there's some other ones here too, I've been hoarding because I thought that they would make really great titles for scrapbook pages. But I have so much Christmas stuff, and I end up using like custom titles for my Christmas layouts that I thought, you know what, I'm going to stop hoarding these and I'm going to use them because they look really pretty on these cards. And, if I need a Merry Christmas for a scrapbook layout, I'm sure I can find another one, or I can cut one on my Cricut, or there are some Merry Christmases in this year's collection or next year's collection next time I scrapbook Christmas. So I'm trying really hard to stop hoarding so much and actually use all of these products that I bought because I love. So that's what I'm doing here. So here's a little tip for using a pattern paper or pocket card in this case that you don't love. So that background that I just put down, I don't really love that pocket card, and I was putting off using it because it just wasn't my favorite. But what I did was I paired it with a smaller pocket card that I'll be adding to the top, the one that says chestnuts roasting on an open fire. And by adding that on top, it's the focal point, and so the background blends in and you don't notice it as much, but it coordinates with that smaller card really well. And then I also used this gold paint pen to add some gold lines to kind of jazz it up a little bit, and you'll notice me doing that throughout these cards is some cards that were maybe a little more simple, like that Nutcracker one. By adding a little bit of gold paint pen, it helps to jazz it up. And then in this one also, I'm adding some gold glitter embellishments that help jazz it up as well. So that background is more of a supporting role rather than the star of the show, and it doesn't take away a lot of attention. So in the end, I end up really liking this card. Now here's another really good design, especially if you have just small pocket cards left. To have one going vertical and one going horizontal and just overlap them, and that will make a really pretty card. Now if you wanted to put a little more time into these cards, you could ink around the edges of the pocket cards, especially one like this where I've got a light pocket card, that one with the bird, going onto a light background, the white card base. It would help create more definition between those two colors that are so similar. I didn't do that on these cards because I was trying to be very quick, but that definitely would help in adding more definition and would be a fun accent to most of these cards. So it was kind of fun. There were some ornaments that are the same pattern as that patterned pocket card that's on the left. And so I think there were 2 on each sticker sheet, but since I had 2 sticker sheets, I had a total of 3 that I could use. I jazzed them up with a little bit of gold paint pen, and using a black journaling pen, I added lines, and then I hand drew the little bows instead of using die cuts because I didn't have any more of the die cuts left. So you can just hand draw the little bows too, and it looks really good. This one uses the same design. We've got the 3x4 patterned paper, which could be a pocket card if you have that, and then the horizontal one as well. So actually that black one that I'm putting down now, that might be a little less than 3x4, but same idea. Use your scraps, even if they're not exactly the same size as I have or that you used on a previous card, you can still use them in the same way. So this isn't one of my favorite cards, but it's still cute. I drew the black that was over in the patterned paper on the left over to the right with that little bracket shape that was also from the scrapbooking kit. And then I had this Happy Holidays that was in black paperboard. And then I'm adding a few little gold accents here again. I was having a hard time using the stockings. I'm not sure why. I really liked it on that card I did more toward the beginning with the stockings were hung by the chimney with care sentiment, but I was having a harder time using this one, so I just decided to layer it underneath the sentiment here, and we'll call that done. Now here's again the same idea, but I'm doing a portrait orientation card where I've got 2 3x4 cards, one going horizontal, one going vertical. This one actually ended up being one of my favorite cards. So kind of intermixed within these, even though this was getting, well, we're over halfway through and I'm starting to run low on certain supplies. I'm really getting in my groove and stretching my imagination, and you start to see things that you didn't see before as your supplies dwindle down. It's really, really fun to just kind of work with what you have and challenge yourself to limit your supplies and really get creative. I love this color combo, and I really ended up loving that bracket shape that I put around the tree, and I was really happy when I found out that it fit perfectly around the tree. And then that believe sentiment that I use, it's also paperboard. It matched perfectly, and so we drew the black in around the tree and in the sentiment. It just really worked nicely, and I loved it. These sprigs are actually from a current set. It's from the Evergreen card making workshop. You have to get it in the workshop kit, but the Evergreen paper that comes in it is amazing, and the stamp and die set that comes in that kit is worth every penny. I love the sprig that comes in it that I used here. So adding that with my Barely Art glue, and then I decided I wanted a few little splatters in black on this one. I didn't add my little paper underneath there, so I made sure I wiped up my mat before continuing on, so I didn't get any black shimmer brush on the back of my next project. So here I'm using patterned paper as my background and one of the gold small pocket cards, and I found this cute little deer that was from a Christmas collection. I think it was a couple of years ago from the Holly and Ivy collection in the die cuts pack. And I really ended up loving this card too. So he is out of like a craft, I think it's craft paperboard. And I really love this combo, this color combo. I tried a few little sentiments that I had in my stash. I found that I ran low on sentiments pretty quickly. So if you're going to do this, I would probably die cut or pre-stamp more sentiments than you think you're going to need. I ended up pulling a sticker that says thankful from that same Holly and Ivy sticker sheet for my sentiment. And then I had some gold glitter hearts to add as embellishments. I had a few other sticker sheets from past collections. I tried not to pull any paper from past collections, but since I needed more sentiments, I pulled out, I think I had like 3 or 4 other sticker sheets from past collections that I was trying to pull sentiments from. So that's the only thing I was really pulling from. Since that sticker was a couple of levels higher than the heart that it was over, I put just a little scrap underneath that side that was hanging off. All right, this next design also ended up being one of my favorite. I was playing with these little stars and I was trying to fit them all on one, and then I thought, well, I can make this my focal image. And then I had an aha moment. I have this decoration in my house that's a big star, like a wooden star that has a bow at the top and it hangs. And I thought, oh, I could recreate that. So I added a couple little sprigs at the top and then these little bows. I had 3 bows in my stash as well from a really old collection. They're glittery and I had 3 stars, so it was perfect. So I was able to make 3 cards that are each a little bit different, but this same idea, and I really, really loved this. So I glued everything down, and then I had a few of these little small glittery stars that I added around as scatter, and that finished this card off perfectly. I really, really love this look, and it also looks really perfect with that green background paper and the gold pocket card that I have it on. Next, I decided to move on to this pretty little deer. I was really feeling that green background and the gold pocket card on top. And then I thought he needs something to stand on. So I gave him a little gingham strip to stand on. And then I tore these little tiny sprigs off of a berry sprig die cut that I have. And I just added a couple of them as a little collar around the reindeer. And then I found this always believe sentiment on a sticker sheet, and I thought that that would look really cute right underneath the reindeer as well. So that is pretty much gonna finish that up. I really like how that simple card turned out. And then we're gonna turn back to this same star. So I did it in much the same way, but I just embellished a little bit differently, and that's how that turned out. Now I found this Christmas morning pocket card that I really can't use the Christmas morning on anything, but I really liked that plaid look, so I cut that off and I'll use it like a zip strip. I'm really getting down to some scraps here, so I'm trying to kind of arrange them in a pleasing way. So I'm shuffling these around and flipping them over until I come to an arrangement that I like. And I think I like it like this, and I'm just going to trim this little piece off so it's a little bit shorter. And then I'm going to pull in some of these circular elements and kind of arrange them so that they create a clustered focal image. I really don't have a whole lot to work with. Hearts work with everything, so I'll tuck that in there, and then I've got a little cluster of 3. And I'm going to bulk it up and jazz it up a little bit with some more sprigs because I do have plenty of sprigs left. So I'll tuck those in. I added a little sentiment at the bottom from stickers, and that one's done. So I still have this really pretty doily background, and I wanted that to be a full background. I really like that. And I have one of these stars left over. I'm not loving it on the red, so I'm going to flip that over Oh, here's one that's got green that matches a little bit better. So this one's a little bit different. We have the green strip going down the side of that little scrap that I had left because I didn't have any more big pieces. And we will arrange this in much the same way as we did the other ones. But it's just a little bit different color combo. I found a sticker that says Believe, which is not exactly the same colors as in the card, but it went well enough. Now I had a bunch of border stickers left on the sticker sheet, so I wanted to use those up. So what I'm doing is creating kind of like snowbanks. I'm going to create 3 layers with those stickers and just cut off the excess. And then I had a bunch of these trees left over. I've actually had these trees in my stash since last year, I think, that I had die cut for cards and never used. So I'm really happy to have used most of them up here. I still have those couple left that I didn't end up using, but I made a little arrangement tucking them into the different layers of the little snowbanks there. And then I decided I didn't like the white background. I wanted a night sky. So I used some Harbor cardstock and then some little splatters in white and gold. I put a little bit of thin 3D foam tape behind each tree, and then I had some little white acrylic stars in my stash. There are some snowflakes that are currently available in white acrylic that are super cute. I'll link to those, but these ones are from an older collection, and so I was glad to use those up. So they add a little bit of dimension, which is fun. Now we are going to start using some more scraps. I don't have any more big pieces left, but I did have this Oh So Merry sentiment, which again, I was trying to hold off to use on a scrapbook layout, but I needed more sentiments. So I decided to use it, and I really liked it paired with this green strip that I had and the plaid one. I inked around the edge just a little bit. This is, I think, the only thing I inked around. And I didn't want much of a border, so I used only the black that was left in my foam pad. I didn't add any more. I had a few silver stars left. I didn't use much silver in these cards. I actually much prefer gold for Christmas time, but I had a bunch of silver ones. I'm going to pull all of them out here as well as the rest of the little embellishments I had left in that tray. And I'll create a visual triangle with the stars here, and then we'll call this card done. For this next card, I'm going back to one of my go-to background designs with a larger piece on the bottom and a couple of strips. And this is another one of those sentiments I was trying to save for a scrapbook layout or for my December daily. It says "'Tis the Season," and it's gold glitter paper with white acrylic on top. But I was finding I had tried to use it in December Daily, but it's got a bit more bulk than I like to add in December Daily. But I think it looks really cute on the card. Now this is my last big-ish scrap, and so I'm going to go with the same kind of background design that I've been using as a go-to, with a large piece and a couple of smaller strips, although this skinny strip is a little wider than some of them that I've been using, but it just creates such a nice background. And then I still had a poinsettia sticker and actually 2 leaves, so I'm going to add that here as my little focal image, and I had this little bird. I'm going to add a few little sprigs tucked behind the poinsettia as well. And let me get this bird in place. It looks kind of cute there. But I found this little sentiment that says "Merry and Bright," and I think the bird looks even cuter sitting on top of that sentiment. All right, 2 more to go. Now, this one is usually my go-to when I have all my skinny little strips left. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting them all down to 4 inches, and then we will have just a long row of lots of skinny strips going across. Now, depending on how many skinny strips you have left, you might be able to get more than 1 card out of this. I just did 1 more card with all of my little strips, and I have a few left over, but I was just ready to be done. So what I've done here is cut a piece of typing paper to 4 by 5 1/4. I find that it's easier to adhere all of my strips to this rather than straight onto my card base. So I'm just lining them all up in a color order that I like, and then I put the typing paper onto my background. And then I found this really large Bright and Merry chipboard piece that I had in my stash that, again, I was trying to save for a scrapbook layout, but decided to use here, and I think it looks really pretty as a big focal image on this background. But then I found I had one more 4x6 gold pocket card, but I didn't have much more to use that would work on this. So I grabbed a sticker from the Holly and Ivy sticker sheet that I had out and used that as a big focal image as well, with a few little sprigs sticking out in two of the corners. And I think that looks really cute. I got those adhered down and then thought it needed a little something else. I had these little craft poinsettias that I haven't used for anything yet because the craft color was kind of throwing me off, but I think it works really well here because I already have the red behind it. So I'll just add a couple of those on here and then we'll call that done. Now let's go back and take a closer look at all of the cards that we created, 32 in all. I would love to know which ones are your favorite. Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up. That really goes a long way in helping my channel. So thanks so much for doing that. And also be sure to check out the rest of the creative design team's videos. I will have a playlist linked at the end of this video that will take you to all of the videos that have been posted so far. Everybody is sharing something that they have had in their stash that they haven't used yet. So it's been really fun to see everybody pull out their supplies that they purchased and love and just never got around to using. We all have supplies like that, right? So I challenge you to do this as well. Pull out something that you purchased that you had big plans for that you never used, and I would love to see what you create. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a Merry Christmas.